ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhagavata Pravaha online series on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So far we covered the first 23 chapters of the 10th canto. In the previous episode, we have seen how Krishna blessed the gopis and how he has blessed the Brahmana Patnis. And today we will discuss the glorious episode of Govardhan Leela from chapters number 24 to 28 in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto. So we will begin with the 24th chapter. So Sukadeva Goswami describes that once Nanda Maharaj and all the cowhead men in Vrindavan, they were making preparations for some worship, for some puja. So little Krishna, who was just 7 years old at that time, he came there and he asked Nanda Maharaj, "My dear father, what is this ritual that you are doing? What are these arrangements for? You are making lot of preparations, and what is the purpose of all these arrangements? So are you doing some ritual? Are you doing some sacrifice? What kind of worship is it? Is this mentioned in some shastras, or is it a tradition that we are continuing from our ancestors? So what exactly is the purpose of all these arrangements and these pujas that you are trying to do? Is it a sacrifice?" Like that, Krishna asked so many questions in front of Nanda Maharaj, and Nanda Maharaj thought that he's a 7-year-old boy, he won't be able to understand the intricacies of what we are trying to do. So Nanda Maharaj was not responding immediately. Then Krishna told, "My dear Nanda Maharaj, my dear father, it's not proper to hide anything in front of relatives. So you should not keep any secrets in front of relatives. So better you reveal everything. What is the purpose of your arrangements that you are making?" Then Nanda Maharaj told Krishna, "My dear Krishna, so we are worshipping Indra. We are making all these preparations and arrangements to worship the demigod Indra because Indra gives us rains. Only because of rains our crops and our whole agriculture will go on properly and we will get grains. Without rains, how will we get grains? So rains are very important for our sustenance. We are dependent on the demigod Indra, who is the in charge of the rains. So we are worshipping him, and it's an annual worship. It's an age-old tradition. Our ancestors also have done it. So we are continuing this tradition and we are worshipping Indra. We are expressing our gratitude to this demigod Indra by worshipping him every year because he is bestowing us rains and we will get grains through these rains." Then Krishna has patiently heard all these things, and then Krishna started speaking some karma mimamsa philosophy now. He said, "My dear father, everybody undergoes birth, death, old age, disease, happiness, distress, and many such experiences in one's life because of one's own karma." Karma basically means work. But the word karma is also used to indicate the results of one's work. So the reactions that we get for our work is also called karma sometimes. So Krishna said that everybody is doing some work and he will get a reaction for one's own work. So whatever happiness or distress or other experiences that we have in this world are results of our own past deeds. So now when we do good work, we will only get good results. So why should we unnecessarily worship demigods for this, to get any good results? So even Indra is also bound by this karma because he has done some karma. He is posted as the king of the heavenly planets and he is made in charge of rains in this universal administrative system. So in this universal government, different demigods are doing their part. They are managing different affairs of the universe. So why should we bribe them? Why should we offer any sacrifice or puja or some other rituals for them so that they can do their own duty? Do we bribe a government official to perform his own duty? So similarly, it's not necessary for us to worship demigods, because demigods are bound to do their duty for the welfare of the entire population in this universe. So we don't have to worship him separately. It's not necessary for us to worship. Even he is also bound by karma. We will do our good activities. We will get results of our own work. So Krishna spoke this karma mimamsa philosophy, indirectly saying that work is worship. We should do good work and get good results. We don't have to worship anybody. We will depend only on our work. So that's the kind of philosophy that Krishna has spoken. But it's not the ultimate teaching of Krishna. Ultimate teaching of Krishna is everyone should perform bhakti yoga. Everyone should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's the ultimate teaching. But in this context, Krishna spoke karma mimamsa philosophy mainly to humble Indra. Because Krishna understood, because Krishna is the super soul within every single living entity's heart. So Krishna understands the moods and the needs and the deeds of all the living beings. So at this stage, Indra was so proud, so puffed up of his material position, material opulence, and his exalted situation as the ruler of the heavenly planets, as the bestower of rains. So Indra was so puffed up, he was so proud. And Indra is also a devotee of Krishna. And the Supreme Lord Krishna does not like if his devotees have any pride in their hearts. So Krishna wanted to humble Indra. So Indra was sitting on a huge mountain of false pride, and Krishna wanted to bring Indra down from that mountain and make him humble. So Indra, because he's so puffed up, Krishna wanted to humble him by stopping Indra Puja. So with that purpose in the mind, Krishna proposed that, my dear father Nanda Maharaj, let us not worship Indra. There is no need to worship Indra. We are all residents of a village. We are living in this Vrindavan village, and we are also dependent on this Govardhan mountain. So Govardhan mountain is giving us everything that we need. So Govardhan mountain is supplying us grasses, wood, waterfalls, lakes, and many other things are coming from Govardhan. So let us worship Govardhan mountain. We are dependent on Govardhan mountain. We have discussed it in the Venu Gita episode. Even the gopis of Vrindavan are also glorifying Govardhan as Hantaya Madrirabala Haridasa Varyo Yadrama Krishna Charanas Parasha Pramodaha Manam Tanoti Sahago Ganayostayoryat Pani Yasuya Vasakandara Kandamulai. Hantaya Madrirabala Haridasa Varyo. Govardhan mountain is considered as the best of all servants of Lord Hari. Haridasa Varya. And who is saying this? The gopis of Vrindavan, who are the topmost devotees of Krishna, they are saying this. And even amongst the gopis, Srimati Radharani glorifies Govardhan as the topmost of all the servants of Krishna. So, Hantaya Madri Rabala Haridasa Varyo Yad Rama Krishna Charanas Parasha Pramodaha. So, by the touch of the lotus feet of Rama, means Balarama and Krishna, Govardhan mountain rejoices. So Govardhan mountain offers nice sitting places of his stones for Krishna and Balarama and all the gopas to sit. And Manam Tanoti Sahago Ganayostayoryat. So Govardhan gives so much of respect not only to Krishna and Balaram, but also to the gopas and the cows and calves of Krishna and Balaram. And Paniya Suyavasa Kandara Kandamulaihi. Paniya, Govardhan gives nice waterfalls and clear water lakes. And Suyavasa, Govardhan gives soft grasses for Krishna's cows. Kandara Kandamulaihi, Govardhan has beautiful caves in which the gopas would sometimes go and sit. Kandamulaihi, Govardhan also gives very beautiful roots and fruits for Vrajavasis to eat. So gopis also glorified Govardhan like this. Now Krishna is glorifying Govardhan. Govardhan is giving us so many blessings. My dear Nanda Maharaj, let us go and worship Govardhan. So we are all residents of village. Our main source of sustenance is this forest and hills. So we should worship this hill. So with all the paraphernalia that you have arranged for Indra Puja, let us worship Govardhan. So let's cancel Indra Puja and let's do Govardhan Puja. So Krishna proposed this new plan. So the Govardhan Puja that Krishna is inaugurating at this moment would become a very glorious festival for all Vaishnavas in the future generations to come. Till today and for many centuries and yugas to come. So all the devotees, Vaishnavas would be celebrating this beautiful festival of Govardhan Puja. So Krishna is proposing this. And Nanda Maharaj heard this whole proposal of Krishna and said that, my dear Krishna, we will worship Govardhan if that pleases you. But let us worship Indra for now. We will worship Govardhan later. So we will use this paraphernalia for Indra Puja first, but later we will conduct a separate festival to worship Govardhan also, because that's what you wanted. Krishna says, no, let's cancel Indra Puja, and instead of Indra Puja we will do Govardhan Puja, and whatever preparations you have already made, let's use them for Govardhan Puja. And Nanda Maharaj said, okay, if that pleases you, let us do it. And all the cowherd men also agreed for it. Actually, Nanda Maharaj and all the Vrajavasis did not agree for Govardhan Puja by getting convinced by Karma Mimamsa philosophy. So, Karma Mimamsa philosophy that Krishna spoke, the Vrajavasis are not so impressed with this Karma Mimamsa philosophy that they agreed to cancel Indra Puja. Basically, Krishna is saying, the Supreme Lord Krishna is saying that let us worship Govardhan instead of Indra. And all the Vrajavasis have deep love and affection for Krishna. And if Krishna wants something, how can they deny? So they just agreed to worship Govardhan because Krishna desired it. They are not even considering Krishna as God. They only consider Krishna as their dear friend or child, as their dearmost object of their love. So if Krishna wants something, Vrajavasis will do it. So no other logic is needed for them to get convinced about it. So they stopped Indra Puja, they worshipped Govardhan, and Krishna also spoke so many other things. Krishna said that we should make so many food preparations. We should make delicious food items and then offer to Govardhan. We should offer all kinds of milk products to Govardhan. Not only Govardhan Puja, we should do Go Puja also. We must worship the cows in Vrindavan. And let us also have our Brahmanas perform sacrifice during this Govardhan Puja. Let's give food to everybody, even not only Gopas and Gopis, even dogs and dog eaters also must get food. So let's profusely distribute food to everyone who attends this festival. Not only this, let us do Govardhan Parikrama. Let us circumambulate this entire Govardhan hill with our cows and with Gopas and the Gopis and children and old people and Brahmanas. Everyone should circumambulate this Govardhan hill. So Nanda Maharaj agreed. And whatever Krishna said, all the Vrajavasis just followed. So they worshipped Govardhan, they conducted sacrifice, they worshipped cows, and they also sang songs in glorification of Govardhan, and Brahmanas chanted mantras, and Brahmanas also performed some rituals and sacrifices, and the songs of the Gopis and the mantras of the Brahmanas mixed, and Krishna then assumed a very huge, unprecedented form of Govardhan, and he declared, I am Govardhan mountain. And Krishna, in the form of Govardhan mountain, took all the food items offered by these Vrajavasis, and then he accepted all of them, entire food he has eaten, and then he said, Aniyor, I want more food. And then later Krishna very mercifully manifested whatever he has accepted from Vrajavasis, so he just gave all the food back. When we selflessly offer something to Krishna, Krishna is very pleased to accept it, and he will give everything back to us only. So then also the Vrajavasis circumambulated this Govardhan mountain. They did Govardhan Parikrama and they offered obeisances. Krishna directed them, let us offer obeisances unto this Govardhan mountain and pray for our safety, for the safety of our cows and all the Gopas and Gopis. So Krishna inaugurated this beautiful Govardhan Puja that Vaishnavas for several generations to come would be continuing this beautiful festival. So all the Vrajavasis, after conducting this Govardhan Puja, went back to their village, and everybody was so happy except one person, that is Indra. Indra was not happy. So we completed 24th chapter. We will see the reaction of Indra in the 25th chapter. So Indra became so upset with Krishna's activity. So Indra called his associates and then told them that these Vrajavasis became so adamant. They believed the words of a talkative child, an immature boy, and then stopped my Indra Puja, and they worshipped a hill. So where is it mentioned that they have to worship a hill? They are denying demigods. They are doing Deva Helanam. They are insulting Devatas. So I am bestowing rains. If I don't bestow rains, how can they survive? So in a conditioned soul, there is a desire to be respected. When that hunger for honor increases, people not only become upset or disappointed or angry, they even want to destroy those people who do not honor them. And Indra did not just become upset or disappointed or angry. Indra wanted to destroy entire Govardhan, entire Vrindavan, and the entire cowherd community for not worshipping him. So a humble person does not expect any worship or respect or reverence from other people, but here is a person who is so proud that he wanted to destroy those people who do not want to respect him, who did not worship him. It's not that Vrajavasis were disrespecting Indra. They have nothing to do with that. They just wanted to please Krishna. Krishna told, let us worship Govardhan, and Vrajavasis agreed to that proposal. It's not that Vrajavasis were holding any grudge or envy or anger towards Indra. So Vrajavasis just submitted to Krishna. And Indra is aware that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but at this moment he has forgotten that fact. When somebody is so proud of one's material qualities or material opulence or position and power and prestige and influence, one can even deny the supremacy of God also. One can even think that I am God. So Indra is attributing a lot of importance to himself, and he minimized the position of Krishna. He said that he told all his people that Vachalam balisham stabdham agnam pandita maninam krishnam martyam upashritya gopa me chakrura priyam. Vachalam, Krishna is a talkative boy. Balisham is a mere child, immature boy. Stabdham, very obstinate. And Agnam, ignorant person. 7-year-old child, he is so ignorant. And Pandita Maninam, and he is thinking himself to be great Pandit. So then Krishnam Martyam Upashritya, these Vrajavasis have taken shelter of Krishnam Martyam. He is a mortal being. So Indra had the audacity to call Krishna as a Martya. Martya literally means one who is destined to die. The word Martya is used to indicate human beings in this earthly planet who will definitely die one day. So they will have to leave their bodies. So Indra, out of his false pride, he is considering Krishna to be a Martya, Krishna to be an ordinary child, and Gopame Chakrurapriyam. And he says that all these Gopas have behaved inimical to me. They went against the demigods. They did Deva Helanam. They will have to experience the reaction for all these mistakes that they have done. They will have to reap the consequences of causing anger in me. I will destroy entire Gokul now. So Indra called for the Samvartaka clouds. So Samvartaka clouds are some special clouds that generally work during the devastation of the entire universe. So Indra is the king of heavenly planets, and he is specifically the in charge of rains. So all the clouds submit to him, and even the winds of destruction also submit to him. So because for clouds to pour out rain, winds are also needed to support them. So Indra called these clouds Samvartaka clouds, and he called 7 types of winds of destruction, and then he instructed them. So you should go and pour profuse quantities of rain in Gokul, and I will also accompany you. I will go on my Airavata elephant carrier with my thunderbolt weapon, I will also come there and destroy entire Vrindavan. So let us work together. So like that Krishna instructed. So such proud and puffed up masters engage their servants to satisfy their own sense of false prestige, and the servants are obliged to follow such proud masters. So the Samarthaka clouds, because they were ordered by Indra, so they came to Vrindavan. They started pouring profuse quantities of rain. So when this rain and thunder began in Vrindavan, all the Vrajavasis were tormented, all the cows were tormented. So the calves were going underneath the bodies of the cows, and the cows were giving shelter to their calves. So there is like a flesh on the neck of these cows, and the cows are going and calves are going and hiding between the two front legs of their mothers, and then cows were trying to protect, and the Vrajavasis were being tormented. So their houses are getting inundated. So they all went to Krishna seeking Krishna's protection. So all the Vrajavasis went to Krishna and prayed, Krishna Krishna Mahabhaga Tvannatham Gokulam Prabho Tratumarhasi Devannaha Kupitad Bhakta Vatsala. Krishna Krishna Mahabhaga, oh greatly fortunate Krishna, this Indra has become angry on us because we stopped Indra Puja. So maybe Indra became angry. So he is causing this untimely rain now. And this rain is like a devastating rainfall. It's not an ordinary rain. It's not like a normal storm also. So the rain is coming so thick, like pillars. It's not like droplets. So like thick pillars of volumes of water are coming on the land of Vrindavan, inundating the entire land. All the Vrajavasis were totally tormented, and they have taken shelter of Krishna. Even cows are also taking shelter of Krishna. Calves and bulls also came to take shelter of Krishna. And Krishna cannot tolerate if somebody troubles Vrajavasis, and especially his dear cows. He's called Gopala. He's the protector of cows. And Krishna has taken a vow to protect all his devotees. So Krishna says, Tasman Matsharanam Goshtham Mannatham Matparigraham Gopya Gopaye Svatma Yogena Soyam Me Vrata Ahitaha. Krishna says that I have taken this solemn vow to protect all my devotees who are surrendered unto me. So, Mannatham Mat Parigraham, they have taken me as their dear master. And Mat Sharanam Goshtham, they have taken my shelter completely. They are exclusively dependent on me. How can I neglect them? So, Krishna wanted to protect all the Vrajavasis. And Krishna reassured them, my dear Vrajavasis, so you have nothing to fear. So Govardhan, we have worshipped Govardhan, that Govardhan will protect us. So Krishna went. Krishna tightened his belt. He went towards Govardhan. And from his house till Govardhan mountain, Krishna ran. And while Krishna was running, no raindrop touched his body. So throughout the pathway, no rain fell on Krishna. So Krishna went there and he lifted Govardhan effortlessly, just like a small child lifts a mushroom. So he lifted Govardhan mountain and then held it on his left hand, on little finger, and he invited all the Vrajavasis, my dear Vrajavasis, please come. This Govardhan is so grateful for your worship. Now this Govardhan mountain will be giving us shelter. So please come under the shelter of this Govardhan mountain. You come with your family, your children, your cows, and your other household paraphernalia also. You can bring. You can bring your carts also. Please come under Govardhan. There is enough space for all of you to stay under Govardhan. Don't worry. Then Krishna, when he announced like this, all the Vrajavasis felt so happy, and then they came under Govardhan. And some Vrajavasis were thinking that, oh, Krishna may not be able to lift this Govardhan mountain alone, so let us help him. So they kept their sticks to support Govardhan. So Krishna allowed them to do so. So they don't have any logic. So they were thinking that Krishna is holding Govardhan, let us help him. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Vrajavasis just consider Krishna as their mere child and friend. They will not consider Krishna to be God. So they can even think that they can help Krishna in lifting Govardhan, and they can put their little weak sticks also to support. So then Krishna called them inside, and all of them went inside, and Krishna invoked the presence of Sudarshana Chakra, so that Sudarshan Chakra can be on the top of Govardhan mountain and absorb all the rains and thunderbolts and hailstorms and everything that is falling because of the pride of Indra. So Sudarshan Chakra was protecting Govardhan from top. Now, if all the Vrajavasis are under Govardhan, the flood waters caused by Indra's rain could come under Govardhan also. So Krishna invoked the presence of Anantasesha. So Anantasesha was circling Govardhan and on all sides, and not allowing the rain waters, flood waters to come under Govardhan. So Vrajavasis are protected from all sides. Vrajavasis are so innocent, simple-hearted, pure devotees of Krishna. They are so dependent on Krishna. Because Krishna told them to do Govardhan Puja, they did Govardhan Puja. Now Indra became angry, Vrajavasis are in trouble, they came to the shelter of Krishna only, and Krishna made all arrangements to protect Vrajavasis. So if we simply follow the instructions of Krishna, and if we simply perform devotional service of Krishna, and align all our thoughts and words and actions according to the teachings of Krishna, it is Krishna's responsibility to protect us. Krishna promises that in Bhagavad Gita, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janaha paryupasate tesham nityabhayuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Ananyas chintayanto mam. So those devotees who exclusively think about me and worship me in that way, so such devotees deserve my protection. Yogakshemam vahamyaham. I preserve whatever they have and I supply whatever they don't have. Krishna promises in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna doesn't give a false promise. So all the Vrajavasis are constantly protected by the loving affection of Krishna. So now Indra's wrath cannot cause anything to Vrindavan Dham and Govardhan mountain and Vrajavasis. Not a blade of grass was moved by Indra's profuse quantities of rain. Whatever may be the amount of troubles that the demigods or the demons might cause in this Vrindavan Dham, nothing will get affected. Because Krishna is there personally to protect all his devotees. So all the Vrajavasis went under this Govardhan mountain. Then there was a great festival. So there was a great storm outside Govardhan. But there is another kind of rainfall. So there is rainfall outside Govardhan, but there is rainfall under Govardhan also. Above Govardhan there is rainfall, under Govardhan there is rainfall, but this rainfall is the rains of Krishna's loving glances, loving smiles. So far, as we discussed before also, the Gopas get an opportunity to spend time with Krishna throughout the day in the forest while tending cows. And the gopis are in separation from Krishna. And in the night, the gopis get the association of Krishna. So the Gopas are in separation. Now, Krishna has given his association to all the Gopas and all the gopis and the children and elder people and Vatsalya gopis and Madhurya gopis and Sakhya Gopas and Vatsalya Gopas and the cows and the calves and everybody. So all the Vrajavasis are there under Govardhan seeing Krishna. Now Krishna is lifting mountain, he can face one direction. And Vrajavasis are surrounding Krishna on all sides. But every single Vrajavasi was perceiving that Krishna is turning towards me only, Krishna is smiling at me only, Krishna is specifically reciprocating with my love, my devotion. Every single Vrajavasi was feeling like this. So Krishna reciprocated simultaneously with all the Vrajavasis in different rasas. Only Krishna can do it. So Krishna is called Rasaraj. This Rasaraj is under Giriraj now. So Giriraj is the best of all mountains and Rasaraj Krishna is the object of all rasas. He is Akhila Rasamrita Murti. So he is the object of all rasas. He is subject of all rasas and he is the abode of all rasas. That's why he is called Rasovaisaha. He is Rasaraj. Okay, Akhila Rasamrita Murti. So now he is reciprocating with all the Vatsalya Gopas and Gopis, all the Sakhya Gopas and all the Madhurya Gopis and all the cows also. So then Mother Yashoda became very concerned about Krishna. So I am also speaking not only from Bhagavatam, I am speaking from Gopal Champu, Anandavrindavan Champu also, little bit, not so much. So Mother Yashoda asked Krishna, Krishna, why do you do all kinds of mischief? So why are you so restless and fickle-minded? So you have proposed for Govardhan Puja and you have stopped Indra Puja. Now Indra became angry, he is causing trouble. And now you have to lift this Govardhan mountain, you are holding this mountain on your little finger and you must be fatigued, your hand may be tired. And Mother Yashoda is concerned that Krishna's hand is getting fatigued. So then Vatu, one of the Gopas, he told Mother Yashoda, my dear Mother Yashoda, actually Krishna is not holding Govardhan mountain and I am holding this Govardhan mountain by the power of my own mantras. Then Krishna also told Mother Yashoda, Mother Yashoda, I am not holding Govardhan mountain. Govardhan mountain is standing on his own. So I am not even holding even little bit of weight. So Govardhan mountain is so light like a cotton swab. I can effortlessly hold it. And Govardhan is actually rising on its own. I didn't do anything. And then Vatu said, I am actually holding it in the air by the power of my mantras. Then Yashoda Mata said, you are a talkative boy. Why are you unnecessarily playing jokes now? I am very serious now. Then she chastised Vatu. Then Nandamara said, no my dear Yashoda, this boy is trying to encourage you. He is trying to divert the topic and then make the whole situation very light. So he is very nice. So don't chastise him. Then Mother Yashoda said, Krishna, you are so fatigued. So you must be hungry. You should eat something. Then Vatu said, yes, Mother Yashoda, you are right. He should eat something and I should also eat something. So like that, Mother Yashoda was trying to feed Krishna. And later somebody told Radharani, don't look at Krishna because he loves you so much and you love him so much. Krishna may get little diverted. He is holding Govardhan very carefully, but when he sees you, your glances will make him restless and he may not be very attentive in lifting Govardhan. So now Govardhan may fall. So then someone else said, then Krishna started playing flute. Then some other Vrajavasi said that Krishna, don't start playing flute. If you play flute, the nature of your flute is that hard stones could melt and flowing rivers may just halt there. So the moving entities will become immovable and immovable entities will become movable. So now if you start playing flute, Govardhan will be mesmerized and get enchanted by your flute song, and then Govardhan himself may melt. Before Indra's rain can touch us, Govardhan himself may inundate us. So then somebody said like this. Then some other Gopa said that, no, Govardhan knows what to do when. So Govardhan will not melt like that. Don't worry. So like that, such very sweet exchanges are going on between all the Vrajavasis with Krishna in the center. So in this day, 7 days passed. 7 days and 7 nights passed, and Indra was trying his best to inundate entire Vrindavan, but he could not do anything, and Indra was thoroughly humbled. So Indra was fatigued, and all the Samvartaka clouds lost their water. So they came to Indra and said, my dear Indra, we tried our best to inundate Vrindavan. Now we don't have any waters within us, so we cannot inundate this village anymore. So probably they didn't have even water to shed tears also. They were so fatigued. So Indra was also humbled. Then he realized his mistake. Oh, I am playing with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because of whose blessings I am there in this position as the King of Heavens now. So how could I behave so arrogantly, so adamantly, so proudly in front of my worshipable Lord Krishna? Then Indra stopped rain, and then Indra came back to his senses. He became very repentant. So then Indra withdrew all the rain. Then when the rain stopped, Krishna said, my dear Vrajavasis, now the rain stopped. All of you can go back to your houses. But not a single Vrajavasi was in a mood to go back to their houses, because they liked these 7 days and 7 nights so much. So they considered this as the best opportunity to be with Krishna always 24/7. But now that this picnic has ended, they all became little disappointed. They were morose, but still they had to come out. So on that day when Krishna subdued Kaliya also, all the Vrajavasis who were on the shore of that Kaliya lake and they were watching Krishna, so when the Krishna came out, they did not want to leave Krishna. Although they did not lock their houses, they just left their properties aside. They were so enchanted and charmed by Krishna, they just stayed there only and they wanted to be with Krishna whole night. And they stayed there in the whole night, and then forest fire came. We discussed in the previous episode. Now also, none of the Vrajavasis wanted to leave Krishna. But Krishna said, you should go out of Govardhan. Then all the Vrajavasis came out, but some Gopas stayed under Govardhan only. They said, Krishna, now you are alone under Govardhan, so we will help you to reposition Govardhan back in its place, and then we will all go together outside. Then Krishna said, oh really? So then Krishna just slightly shifted little bit of the weight of Govardhan on these Gopas who were holding sticks. And the Gopas could not bear that weight. So Gopas just came out. And Krishna smiled and kept the Govardhan mountain back in its place, and he came out. And as soon as Krishna came out, all the Vrajavasis congratulated Krishna. They embraced Krishna. And especially the motherly gopis, they came to Krishna and they took Krishna's left hand. Oh Krishna, you lifted Govardhan mountain with this hand only, so let us massage this hand. They started massaging the hand, they kissed that hand, and they expressed all their love and affection for Krishna. And Krishna told them, you please go back to your houses. Then that completes the episode of Govardhan. We discussed it in short. So after this incident, we completed 25th chapter. We will enter the 26th chapter now. So after this incident, all the elder Gopas in Vrindavan came to Nanda Maharaj. And they told, Nanda Maharaj, we have a big doubt in our mind. So the doubt is, your son Krishna seems to be very invincible. Is he God? So why is he so powerful? We are so astonished by your son's deeds. He's just a 7-year-old boy, and he lifted Govardhan mountain for 7 days and 7 nights he was holding, and he protected all of us, all our cows and all our properties and Gopas and Gopis. So we are astonished by his activities. When he was hardly a few days old, he killed a big demoness named Putana. This Putana, a witch, came in the form of a beautiful woman, a motherly woman, and she wanted to feed her milk to Krishna, and Krishna drank her milk and sucked her life hairs also, and Putana died. And Krishna is just hardly a few days old, and when he was 3 months old, Krishna kicked that cart, hand cart in the house, and then he killed another demon, Shakatasur or Utkacha, and Krishna was just 1-year-old baby. Then a man-eating demon, Trinavarta, came there and lifted Krishna and took him 800,000 miles into the sky. But Krishna was unharmed. And the demon who took away Krishna, he fell on a boulder, and his bodily limbs were totally dislocated, and he died. Nothing happened to Krishna. And when Krishna was just hardly 2-3 years old, he went between these two Yamalarjuna trees, and he pulled these trees, and the trees fell down. Nothing happened to Krishna. And later Krishna bifurcated the beak of Bakasur, a crane demon, and killed him. And later, through Balaram, Krishna also killed Dhenukasur. Balaramji killed Dhenukasur, and Krishna and Balaram together killed so many ass demons who were the associates of Dhenukasur. And later Krishna swallowed forest fire to protect all of us. And Krishna danced on the hoods of Kaliya. So Kaliya has 1,000 prominent hoods, and Kaliya was trying to bite Krishna. Kaliya made all the waters of Yamuna poisonous, and this boy Krishna, hardly 6 years old, he subdued that Kaliya, and he made Kaliya leave this Vrindavan Dham, and he protected all of us like that. So although Krishna has done such miraculous deeds right in front of us, he has done so many superhuman activities, we are still loving him as our child. So we are all like his uncles, and when Krishna doesn't look at us, we feel disappointed, and if we don't show affection on Krishna, he feels disappointed. So according to his activities, he seems like a great Devata or this great Supreme Lord, but now uh, but we are really bound by our loving affection towards Krishna. So how is it that we are unable to give up affection? We are not getting any reverential feelings towards him, although he is displaying so many mystic opulences. So how is it that we are so spontaneously attracted to him, and how is that he is so spontaneously attracted to us? So he says, all the Gopas are telling Nanda Maharaj, Dustyajascha anuragosmin sarvesham no vrajaukasam. Dustyajascha anuragosmin. Our anuraga, our affection for Krishna is dustyaja, means it is very difficult to give up. So then Nanda Maharaj spoke to all the Vrajavasis. My dear Vrajavasis, so although you are seeing so many miraculous activities, superhuman activities done by my son Krishna, you should not give up your affection towards them. I will have to tell you one secret. When Krishna was a small child, Gargamani came to our house. And Gargamani conducted the name-giving ceremony for Krishna and Balaram. So after 7 years, Nanda Maharaj is revealing this incident to the Gopas. So Nanda Maharaj told, Gargamani predicted that my child Krishna will have qualities similar to Lord Narayana. Narayana samogunaihi. So he has all qualities similar to Narayana because he has some special blessings of Narayana. So by the empowerment of Narayana, Krishna is performing so many such superhuman activities, but he is a child. You should not deprive him of your love and affection. You should continue to shower your Vatsalya affection on this child. Don't increase the distance between you and him. So you should be very affectionate and loving and caring for my son. So he also needs that. So we should protect him. But Gargamani told me that we should protect Krishna, and Krishna will protect us from all calamities because he is specially empowered by Narayana. So Nanda Maharaj very innocently said all these truths about Krishna. So whatever may be the amount of Krishna's miraculous activities, the Vrajavasis always love Krishna with great affection only. They don't get into any reverential feelings. So their bhakti is Kevala Bhakti, not Aishwarya Gnana Yukta Bhakti. They are loving Krishna not because Krishna is God. They love Krishna because Krishna is Krishna. Krishna is all attractive and they are attracted to Krishna. So they love Krishna. So after Nanda Maharaj told these facts to the Vrajavasis, then Vrajavasis said, Nanda Maharaj, you never told that Gargamani came to your house and he conducted name-giving ceremony for your sons. So you have hidden this secret, and all the Gopas became little upset. Then later they were pacified. So this chapter is called Gopa Vivada in the Garga Samhita. Then Vrajavasis, as they were discussing with Nanda Maharaj like this, suddenly Krishna came there. So he came like an innocent child, 7-year-old boy, and all the Vrajavasis, the elderly cowhead men, so they showered their blessings and love and affection on Krishna, and Krishna became very happy. So after this incident, we will discuss the next chapter, 27th chapter. So after this whole incident, one day Krishna went near Govardhan mountain just to see if Govardhan mountain is affected in any way because of Indra's rain and storms. So basically Krishna went there to give a private audience to Indra, because Indra is so repentant after this whole episode. Indra was thoroughly humiliated, embarrassed and ashamed in front of Krishna. So Indra was feeling so guilty. So then he went to Brahma. So Brahma was also embarrassed. In the 14th chapter we discussed. So Brahma wanted to test Krishna, and Brahma had stolen all the Vrajavasis, all the Gopas and calves of Krishna. And after 1 year, Brahma has noticed that all the Gopas and calves are with Krishna only. We have discussed that Leela very elaborately some time back. And now Indra did a mistake. So one demigod did one mistake some time back, and another demigod also started doing another mistake. So then Brahma suggested, you have done a mistake, so you should go back to Krishna and then beg forgiveness. And Surabhi also can accompany you. Then Indra went to Surabhi cow, and Krishna loves cows. So when somebody does an offense to the Lord, so if that offender is recommended by another devotee, then the Lord will consider his case and Lord will show some mercy, because the devotee wanted the Lord to show some mercy. So Surabhi cow and Indra came to Krishna, little Krishna. And Krishna was actually tending cows at that time, and he was there with all the friends. And then Krishna just took a break. So he came away from his friends, and then he came near Govardhan to give a private audience to our Indra. So Krishna acted like a loving father, and he rectified the mentality of Indra. Indra was so puffed up. As a responsible father, Krishna subdued the pride of Indra, but Krishna did not want to punish Indra, and Krishna allowed Indra to continue in his position as the king of heavenly planets. So, and because Indra is already embarrassed, Krishna did not want to further embarrass Indra by publicly chastising him. So Krishna is very sensitive to Indra's situation now, and Krishna gave a private audience to Indra. And Indra met Krishna in seclusion along with Surabhi cow. So only 3 of them were there. And Indra was also accompanied by his Airavata. So then Indra requested Krishna, I'm very sorry. I became so arrogant. And then Indra glorified Krishna with this sloka. Vishuddha sattvam tavadhama shantam tapomayam dhvasta rajastamaskam mayamayoyam gunasam pravaho na vidyate te grahananubandha. He says that Vishuddha sattvam tavadhama shantam. Oh Lord, you are in Vishuddha sattva. You are the personification of pure mode of goodness, which is never tinged by any passion or ignorance. So tavadhama shantam, you are the supreme abode of all goodness, and you are very peaceful and unagitated. So like that, in various ways, Indra glorifies Krishna, and finally Indra begs forgiveness from Krishna. My dear Krishna, I was so intoxicated with my wealth and with my false position. I have offended you. I have offended your devotees, the Vrajavasis. Please forgive me. Then Krishna told that, yes, Indra, you were intoxicated by this opulence. So out of mercy, I stopped your sacrifice. You are so puffed up, and the worship of your followers, so-called followers, is increasing your false pride. When a person is very proud, and some people are worshipping him or glorifying him, his pride will increase. He will become more and more puffed up. So one way to humble him is to withdraw that worship. So Krishna stopped the worship of Indra and humbled Indra. So a person blinded by power cannot see me as a punisher, as a protector. So in fact, the punishment of Krishna is also protection offered by Krishna. So Indra, when he became deviant in his mentality, Krishna only rectified that mentality. He did not reject Indra. So Krishna killed so many demons in Vrindavan, but Krishna did not kill Indra. So Krishna only transformed Indra. So rejection should not be an option if reformation is possible. So Krishna reformed the character and mind of Indra, and he did not reject Indra. He allowed Indra to continue in his position. Krishna definitely disapproved the misdeed done by Indra, but Krishna did not disown Indra. So Indra is a devotee of Krishna, but when some devotees get deviated from their good consciousness, sometimes the Lord has to humble them. Lord has to teach them a lesson. So this is what Krishna does to demigods sometimes when they are deviated from their good consciousness. So then Krishna forgave Indra, and Indra also was very apologetic. But one thing here is, although Indra was begging forgiveness, it's definitely with some sincere heart, but it is not 100% pure, because Indra was not only feeling repentant of his mistake, is also fearful of punishment. So Indra was fearing that, oh, later Krishna only protected the Vrajavasis from my reign, but Krishna has not yet punished me. Maybe he will call Yamaraj and he may ask Yamaraj to punish me. So Indra was fearful of punishment. Sometimes we may do mistakes, but we are fearful of punishment and we want to escape punishment also. We have discussed in the first canto of Bhagavatam where Parikshit Maharaj did a mistake. So he garlanded Shamik Rishi with a dead snake, and but Parikshit Maharaj wanted punishment. I have done this mistake, I must be punished for my misdeed. So Parikshit Maharaj wanted a punishment, but Indra wanted to avoid punishment. A sincere devotee may do an honest mistake, not a purposeful mistake, and he also wants to experience the reaction of that mistake so that his mistake will not affect others and he would not be repeating the same mistake again. So Indra wanted to escape this punishment, and later also Indra has done this mistake. In the Dwaraka Leela, when Krishna went to heavenly planets to steal this, to take this Parijata tree, Indra again wanted to fight with Krishna. And Krishna again had to teach a lesson to Indra. So sometimes demigods may repeatedly get deviated from their good consciousness, pure consciousness of being servants of Krishna. But Krishna is very tolerant and merciful towards them also. He will teach them lessons and he will bring them back to normal consciousness whenever they get deviated. So Krishna forgave Indra, and later Surabhi said, "Oh Lord, you are our real Indra. This Indra is for namesake only. You are our real ruler. You are our real master. So let us enthrone you, let us worship you." So then Indra and Surabhi conducted an Abhishek ceremony of Krishna near Govindakund, and Krishna is the master of all mystics, and Surabhi started offering worship to Krishna, and Surabhi said, "You are the real worshipable deity. So for the benefit of cows and brahmanas, you have descended. Actually, you have descended to protect righteousness. You are Go Brahmana Hitayacha." So in this way, in various ways, Indra and Surabhi glorified Krishna, and they conducted the bathing ceremony of Krishna, and they even offered a name Govinda to Krishna in this context. And not only Surabhi and Indra, many other demigods also accompanied. Shiva came, Brahma came, many other devatas came. So they worshipped Krishna, and many other personalities came there and offered several presentations to Krishna. So that's very elaborately described in Ananda Vrindavan Champu, this whole Abhishek ceremony of Krishna. And after that they all left. Then the Gopas who were playing there, who were tending cows, they saw this whole scene from a distance. So they came back to Gokul, and then they came back to Vrindavan, and they reported to the elderly Vrajavasis. They said, "We have seen a special incident." So a person with 4 heads came and he started doing puja to Krishna. Another person with 1,000 eyes came, he was offering dandavats to Krishna. And another person with 5 heads came, so he came and offered worship to Krishna. And also before this, the Vrajavasis, the Gopas also came to the place where Indra met Krishna, and they picked up whatever little paraphernalia was there, and they started doing their imitation worship of Krishna. They were playing. So, and Krishna is so pleased with this kind of loving worship than reverential worship. So Vrindavan is a place filled with simplicity, innocence, and pure love and affection beyond logic, beyond any material expectations. So that completed the episode of Govardhan. So we discussed how Krishna stopped Indra Puja and inaugurated Govardhan Puja. We also discussed how Krishna lifted Govardhan and protected all the Vrajavasis from Indra. And we also discussed how the Gopas were surprised at Krishna's prowess. And we also discussed how this demigod Indra humbled himself and begged forgiveness from Krishna and worshipped Krishna and performed his bathing ceremony. Now we will discuss another small chapter, the 28th chapter, where another demigod happened to offend Krishna again, but not purposefully, not out of his pride. By mistake, it just happened. We will discuss that small incident now. In the 28th chapter, once Krishna's father, Nanda Maharaj, went to this river to take a bath. So he followed the Ekadashi Vrata, and very early in the morning on Dwadashi day, he went to take bath in this river Yamuna. So that's very early in the morning, and one of the associates of Varuna, so Varuna is the water god, so he's the in charge of all water bodies. It's just like Indra is the in charge of rains, so Varuna is the in charge of water bodies. The oceans and rivers are under his rule. So one of the assistants of Varuna, he came and he kidnapped, arrested Nanda Maharaj. Why? Because he was thinking that Nanda Maharaj came to take bath so early in the morning on Dwadashi day. That's not the right time to take bath. But this assistant of Varuna does not know the proper rules and regulations of Dwadashi Parantime. Somehow on that day, according to this astrological calculations only, the Parantime is little before only. So it's not that Nanda Maharaj has taken bath in Yamuna river at a wrong time, but the foolish assistant of Varuna does not know the intricacies and technical details of that Parantime on that day. So he thought that it's an unusual time that he's taking bath, so let me arrest him. So he arrested Nanda Maharaj and he took Nanda Maharaj to Varuna's abode and he kept him captivated there. And Varuna came and Varuna saw that, whom did you bring? He's Nanda Maharaj, he's the father of Krishna. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and we are all servants of Krishna. All the demigods are just insignificant servants of the Supreme Master Krishna. How can you arrest Nanda Maharaj? So now Krishna is going to teach a lesson to me also. Earlier Krishna taught a lesson to Brahma, then Indra, now another demigod, Varuna is in queue. So Varuna became so distressed, he was so unhappy, and he did not know what to do. Then he told Nanda Maharaj, please sit on this throne. So he comforted Nanda Maharaj and he offered him proper seat and he took care of him in all respects, and he was anxiously waiting. Varuna was waiting for the arrival of Krishna. He was thinking Krishna could come at any time. So he was just constantly walking between the entrance gate and the place where Nanda Maharaj is there. So he was anxiously walking, waiting for Krishna's arrival, so that he can just go and fall flat at Krishna's lotus feet. So meanwhile, on the banks of Yamuna, the associates of Nanda Maharaj, they were surprised. So Nanda Maharaj went to take bath inside the river Yamuna, and now he's not there, he's not coming out. So maybe he drowned, he was drowned in the waters. They were so anxious. So all of them called out for Krishna. So then Krishna reassured them. Krishna reassured Yashoda Mata. Krishna reassured all the Gopas, and then he jumped into the river along with Balaram. So Krishna went into the depths of the river and he went to the abode of Varuna. Krishna was shouting, "Who is that foolish person who has kidnapped my dear father Nanda Maharaj?" So when Krishna was saying like this, Varuna heard this, and Varuna became so anxious, so fearful. He came running towards Krishna, fell at the feet of Krishna. "Krishna, I am really sorry, please forgive me. It's the mistake of my foolish servant. I beg forgiveness from you. My foolish servant who does not know the technical details of Parantime and all that. So he just unnecessarily kidnapped your father. Your father is very safe. I kept him on a high throne. He is very happily staying there. So please come and take your father." And Varuna came with arti plate. Varuna came with all the paraphernalia to worship Krishna and worshipped Krishna and glorified Krishna, offered prayers to Krishna. He said, "Oh Krishna, adhyame nibhrito deho." So my body, my life and my whole abode has become worthwhile and become so fortunate because you have personally come to my abode. I am very grateful to you. So I have achieved the perfection of my life. One can transcend the material existence by accepting your lotus feet. Please forgive my offense and accept your father. So Krishna is very pleased with the humility and honesty of Varuna, and he did not say anything to Varuna, and he accepted Nanda Maharaj and then took Nanda Maharaj outside Yamuna river. So when Nanda Maharaj came out of Yamuna river, he met his friends and he started sharing with his friends. So whatever he has seen inside the waters, Nanda Maharaj told all the Gopas, "I have seen Varuna's abode. I have seen Varuna worshipping Krishna. I have seen Krishna's divine opulence there." So then all the Gopas thought that, "Oh, will Krishna ever show his transcendental abode to us?" So they momentarily went into some kind of feelings of seeing Krishna as a great person or God. So for a moment. So will Krishna ever show us his transcendental abode? Then Krishna understood their desire, and near the lake of Brahma Harada, where Akrura also had a divine vision. So Krishna gave a divine vision to all the Vrajavasis. So all the Vrajavasis have seen the Vrajavasis means the elderly Gopas, the associates of Nanda Maharaj. So they have seen the opulences of Krishna in Vaikuntha. So they have seen the spiritual abode of the Lord. And they felt that whatever is here is there in Vrindavan also. In fact, we are more fortunate. We don't have so much of reverential or official or formal dealings with Krishna. So Krishna is our dearmost object. So then Vrajavasis did not actually take it very seriously. So then Krishna again brought them back to their normal mood of loving Krishna. So in this way Krishna blessed Varuna also and blessed all the Vrajavasis also. So we have completed Govardhan episode where Krishna humbled Indra, and we also saw how Krishna dealt with Varuna. So both these demigods offered prayers to Krishna. So tomorrow we will discuss the next chapter. Thank you all very much. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.